What's up, guys? Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com back with another episode of the North American Weed Tour North American Weed Tour podcast, episode 73. Today, I'm joined by special guest Chris Ball, CEO and founder of Ball Family Farms. How you doing today, Chris?
What's up, Mitch? How you doing, my brother? Word up. Nah, what's up, man? Good to see you. Happy to be here, man. Happy to talk some cannabis. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited. Let's
Yeah,
get to it.
you have a unique story around this plant and a great story for this industry. So I'm excited for our listeners and audience to hear that and just to be able to hear more of it myself, straight from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Absolutely.
Like we were saying right before we started, got to meet briefly at this Hall of Flowers in Palm Springs a second ago. And we've been creating some content behind the scenes for you guys for some of the retail outlets, but would love to know kind of your origin story around cannabis and when you first kind of got involved with the plant and a little bit of your history leading up to breaking into this recreational market.
Man, absolutely. And I love, telling this story, man. I've told it a million times and it never gets old to me. But so I'm gonna give you like the 6-minute version because I got 20-minute versions. I got 2-minute versions, right? So we're gonna kind of keep it right in the middle to give everybody a 6-minute synopsis, right? So I got introduced to cannabis when I was about 10, and I noticed it. I recognized it by the funny smelling little cigarettes my dad used to smoke, after dinner and throughout the house sometimes. I knew what regular cigarettes were because my mom smoked those, but dad's cigarettes just smelled a little different, and they were a lot smaller. I would then recognize this same cigarette, at family get-togethers, barbecues, Christmas time, Thanksgiving, and grandma would be smoking it, my uncle, my aunt would be smoking it, a couple of my cousins would be smoking it, so it became a part of the culture, right? Once I got into high school, before then, I grew up in the Reagan era, in the 80s. So it was the Just Say No campaigns. So as you can imagine, once I learned what dad's funny smelling cigarette was, it was kind of confusing for me because here are all the people that I love and admire, in my family that are smoking this thing. But then when I get to school, they tell me just say no. But because of all the people that I cared about was involved in it, I never, ethically or morally, I never saw anything wrong with it because it was just part of our culture. It was dad's cigarettes. It was grandma's cigarettes. It was uncle's cigarettes, So fast forward when I get into high school, I was about 16 and my cousin Earl was a neighborhood weed man. Man, cousin Earl was super fresh all the time, right? Well, I wanted to be super fresh, just like cousin Earl. So I asked cousin Earl to slide me, my first ounce of weed and teach me, how to get down, which he did, but I wasn't very good at it. I don't think my entrepreneurship hadn't set in yet, right? So I kind of, broke it up and kind of sold half of it and probably gave the other half away. Tried to smoke it a couple times, but really wasn't for me. Got super paranoid. I was like, I don't really want to fuck with this. So once I graduated 2 years later, my parents had that good old conversation that, you either got to, work or you got to keep going to school, but you got to get out of here. Right. So I decided I wasn't ready to join the workforce. So I moved in with a buddy of mine in Walnut and enrolled in Mount Sac Junior College in Walnut, California. Now, my plan here was to go to Mount Sac, continue to play football at the junior college level, get a football scholarship and so forth and so on. But I didn't have no money. Right. And I couldn't really rely on any help from my parents. So I called cousin Earl back and I was like, yo, run me back another zone. Only this time the stakes were higher. And I knew if I didn't make it happen, my dreams of going to college, playing ball and trying to make it to the NFL were going to end right there. So that's what I did. I got the zip, broke it up again. But this time I made it work. So I sold weed out of my backpack for the next 2 years to put myself through school, pay my tuition, pay for my books, put gas in my car, put Jordans on my feet. Once I got my scholarship 2 years later to Berkeley, I put it down. I was like, okay, I don't need it no more. I'm going to go to college. I'm on a full ride scholarship. I'm going to play football for 2 years, and then I'm going to go to the NFL and live happily ever after and make millions of dollars. Well, that shit didn't happen, okay? Did really well my first year, was a projected second-round draft pick, my choice my senior year, but then got into some trouble, wind up getting myself benched, and wind up, graduating, but then going free agent, to San Francisco out of college. Got cut, got sent over to NFL Europe, played another year over there in a developmental league, came back and was waiting to sign with either the Chiefs or the Ravens. when I got a call from the CFL, the BC Lions in British Columbia, Canada, right? Said, fuck it. I don't want to wait no more. I'm going to just go play 2 years in Canada, and then I'll come back to the NFL then. Well, when I got to Canada, this is where I saw weed being grown for the first time from seed to harvest, right? Once I saw this process, I just fell absolutely in love with the plant, right? Before then, you know, I was the middleman. Get it from Cousin Earl, sell it, make my little chips, and I'm done. This time, I saw it from seed form. I had never seen weed go from this to that. So as I fell in love with that process, I was like, okay, this is something that I think that I really want to do. After I spent 2 years over in the CFL, I came back. I got a part in a movie, right? So I left my career over in the CFL, came back to LA. During that time, in those 2 years, I started trafficking weed from Canada to the United States, all right? And I won't get into how I was trafficking weed because I don't know if people are still doing it. So I don't want to give away nobody's secrets, right? But I'm gonna just tell you, I was trafficking from Canada to the United States. During that 2 year span, I built up a name for myself in Los Angeles, right? I became known as the football player with the fire packs. And I think back then we were selling juicy fruit. So for anybody who's been selling weed over the past, 15, 20 years, you know what juicy fruit is, right? I was picking up over there for about $800 and then selling it down here in LA for about $3,500, right? So over the course of 2 years, you can imagine how much money I made. I made more money doing that than I was making playing football. So I was like, you know what? Once I got the part in the movie, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna go back to LA. I already got my street business rocking and rolling, and I'm gonna just do that and act and become a movie star or whatever I'm gonna do. I did that. I came back to LA and started trapping some more. Got introduced to a very important guy in a cartel that I will leave nameless, for now, and started working with him. Well, he was being followed by the federal government. So then now here I go. We're now up to 2010, and I get wrapped up in a federal indictment, right? They come down. I think our case was for about 2,000 pounds of marijuana that we had been distributing throughout the United States. Came down, they were like, listen, you're looking at a 10-year mandatory minimum on this case. I was like, 10 what? 10 who? For doing what? Yo, bro, I just sell weed. There is nothing white about what I'm doing. This is all greenery, right? They're like, yeah, this is the RICO Act. This guy's attached to this and you guys are attached to this. I'm like, yo, I don't know nothing about what you're talking about. I know I did this, right? So winded up pleading out on the case. I wind up signing a deal for 30 months. Went in, paid my little debt to society, came back out, and I got out on pretrial release, right? So my lawyer worked out a really good deal for me. He said, look, you're going to sign for 3 years, you're going to do 30 months, right? But you pled out of this thing. I took responsibility for what I did and pled out. He said, but you're not going to report until the case is over. There was a couple guys still in the case, 14-man indictment. There was a few other guys still fighting. So he's like, he worked out a deal with the judge and said, until the case is over and those guys get sentenced, then Chris will report for his 3 years. The strategy behind that was my attorney was like, I want to see what the number one and number two get on the case, because if they don't get 10 years, then I'm going to try to renegotiate, your time, even though you signed, He said, it's a long shot, but it's something that I've seen happen. Well, they fought the case for 4 years, right? Now, mind you, in that 4 year time, I've kept the job, worked at Abercrombie and Fitch for 2 years, and then worked for Nike for 2 years out of Las Vegas. Paid my taxes, didn't get in 1 ounce of trouble. By the time they were done, the number one on the case got 5 years, right? Now he's number one, he get 5. I'm number 14, I get 3. So when it's time for me to go back to report for sentencing, my attorney raised a good point. Hey, listen, this has been hanging over his head for the past 4 years. He's not gotten any trouble. He's paid his taxes every year. He was only supposed to do 3. Judge looked at me and gave me time served. I walked out a free man. Went back to Nike in Las Vegas and quit my job. Now, don't ask me why I did this. I didn't even know why I did this at the time. I just knew that I wasn't happy. I knew corporate America wasn't for me. As soon as I got free, I went back to Nike, quit my job, took all my savings, came back to LA, and bought me a 14 light grow in Van Nuys, California, to apply all the knowledge I had gained from Canada of growing, right? But I had never grown before. So now we're in 2014. Come back to LA. I'm growing. A first year, I just burnt up plants. I didn't do anything right. I burnt up plants. After that first year, I was kind of running out of savings, but then it clicked. So then for the next 3 years, I started selling to co-ops. All my boys had co-ops, pre-ICOs in the LA area. So this is how I started, building my bag back up. Till I was introduced to the social equity program in 2018, went down there, found out it was legit, applied, got the license, and Ball Family Farms was born.
That's the origin story, man.
That's the origin story. Now that I think I'm at about 8 minutes on that one. That was like eight to 9 minutes, but there it is right there.
But that's a lot of history, right? Starting in high school, through college, through sports, through fighting federal indictment, to working your way into this industry through social equity, which is obviously a huge conversation. California kind of spearheaded having some form of a program. The East Coast, as they start to legalize, they're really putting an emphasis on it. I'm up in Washington. We've had legal weed for 7 years. They've been talking about social equity for a little over a year. Use COVID as the perfect example to continue to fumble the rock for an extended amount of time.
Absolutely.
So we still don't have anything, but it's such an important part. And like even what you speaking of growing up in a culture where cannabis was normalized at home and within the culture that you grew up in, but at school it's taught a certain way. And you alluded to the Reagan era. I mean, that's you're a product of what social equity is designed for, right? And so it's really dope to see that, and to see someone like yourself that's not only running in this industry on that regard, but growing and taking all this legacy knowledge and applying it. So big salute to what you've been doing with the brand.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Mitch. I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me.
It's very rare, and it's dope to see. I've been around this industry a long time. My black and brown friends really put me on game and helped me show. And definitely, I firsthand saw, and when you look at the statistics, the disappropriation between sentencing and convictions, it's disgusting.
It's crazy, bro.
It's something that we need to address, man. And
yeah, it's definitely broken. It's definitely, the system is definitely broken, and it needs some attention. It needs some tender love and care for real.
And even within that, the social equity system is very predatory. And like I said, even in my state, we don't even have it. Some of these other states, it's moved on from true social equity, some bullshit bubblegum version of it that, gives politicians something good to point at and feel happy about. But to see someone
ain't working.
Yeah, to see someone like yourself to come into that from a broken system into another broken system and be able, at least from the outside looking in, look like you're thriving, man, it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, man. First of all, let me say again, thank you, because I think a lot of people who, that don't really understand our culture and don't really understand what's going on, they just look at me as just a black face out here, with a successful cannabis brand. And to highlight all the things that you talk about, man, that was nothing but pure, just hard perseverance and relentless pursuit, on my end. And it wasn't, it really wasn't to chase the bread. I was chasing the culture. Like I was chasing what I love to do. I felt like the only things I've ever been good at is playing football and selling weed. So for me, it was like I said, I had pretty much not beat my my case, but I pretty much walked away, from my case. And for me to come back and be working for one of the most prestigious companies in the world, at Nike, and then deciding to quit that to come back to cannabis. I know now why I made that decision, because here I am today, speaking on behalf of social equity, speaking on behalf of people of color, and, really trying to, carve out some space and change the trajectory of of the legacy of my family's name in the game. But at the time, it was just pure heart. Everyone in my family told me, "You're an idiot. What are you doing? You just got done with this. You're going to go back. You're going to go back and go buy a grow." And there was no social equity at that time. I'm basing my whole existence off of a co-op situation. I want to be a caregiver, so for me to get through all of that, man, and not have a single ounce of growing experience when I bought my grow, and to be in there using up all my savings to get through them, trying to figure out how to grow out of rock wool, how to figure out how to grow out of cocoa, live in soil, humidities, man, I done had every failure you could have inside of a grow. You know what I'm saying? And to be standing here today, still persevering, and now kind of being the voice of it, bro, it's a true testament and a true dream come true for me and my family. Real talk.
Absolutely, and with the brand name, right? Ball Family Farms, taking your name and putting in there and creating something that's beyond just a legacy of potential building, generational wealth, but building, something generational that's built off of your name. And like you said, the game that you got from your family, you're just inputting that into what you're going on. And I'm sure that's going to be passed. The torch going to be passed on down the line.
You already know. My little brother is the CFO of the company. My little cousin is my facilities manager. My sister was working with the company at one point in time. It's definitely something that we're trying to create to pass down, man. I want my family to be like the Nordstrom's kids, or the In-N-Out kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the whole purpose here. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's definitely doable. I think cannabis is going to become the new Western medicine. And I want my family's name to be right there in the mix. I want us to be Pfizer. What's happening? Why not? Why can't it be us?
Man, I love that. And so, one of the things I wanted to ask is kind of the inspiration behind the branding. You guys at events have a very, sports theme from rocking the jerseys to, I think you guys were giving out basketballs at this last rendition of Holophile.
Absolutely.
Seen some people crossing some people up down in the hall,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So where did this inspiration to kind of mesh sports and, your legacy family, like what's kind of inspiration behind the branding?
You know what it was, man? I'm gonna tell you, Mitch, everything that I do and stand for is authenticity, right? So when I created the brand, I went against the grain of what everybody was telling me. My family, we're all sports players. You know what I'm saying? Like my little brother Chuck played baseball, had a full ride baseball scholarship to Cal Poly Pomona. My little cousin Mikey had a Division II full ride football scholarship. I had a Division I football scholarship. So when we all come together, it ain't nothing but competition in the house. On holidays, on any time we all get together, it's nothing but competition going on, right? Because we all are competitors in that way. After that, I kind of wanted to put that feel on it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to kind of put the Ball Boys feel on it. That's what we go by in our family, the Ball Boys, right? After that, I started kind of going over into, okay, what's going to set me apart? What's going to make me different? What is my passion, right? I'm a movie buff. You know what I'm saying? Like all I do is watch movies all day and learn the words to movies, So when it came time to start naming strains, the Daniel LaRussos, the Laura Charles, the Bruce Leroy, the Nino Browns, I wanted to name my strains and tie those names into characters who inspired me as a kid growing up, right? That's authentic to me, right? And authentic to anyone who was raised in my era. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of one of them people that I like to kind of do things subtly. And if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't, you're going to go look it up and try to figure it out and find out. So with all of that, man, all of the inspiration just came from life. It just came from, okay, what do we like to do around here? Oh, we like to ball. We like to play ball. Okay, it ties in very well. Our last name is Ball. Okay, Ball Family Farms. Believe me, I wrestled with a couple names. Ball Marijuana Farms. And then I'm like, that's BMF. I don't want to touch that. You know what I'm saying? I got way too much respect for the street to touch that, right? So I'm like, okay, well, Ball Family Farms. Okay. And at the time, the Ball brothers, the basketball Ball brothers, was just starting to bubble. You know what I'm saying? This is like, 4 years ago. So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a lot of,
I didn't even think of that.
yeah, it was a lot of shit going on that time with them. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it authentic. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep, they were Ball in the family. That was their whole thing. So I was like, all right, Ball Family Farms, play off of BFF. There's so much we could do with that. Let's get it popping. You know what I'm saying? So with that aspect of it tied in with the, just the legacy movies of the New Jack Cities and, the Last Dragons and the Karate Kids and all that, it just felt good, and once it hit, I was like, okay, I'm on to something. People started, rolling up, tagging us, posting while they watching the Karate Kid, like, the nostalgia of it and everything. So then it just became fun, bro.
That's awesome. And so, coming out of LA, which is the in my opinion, hands down the most competitive market in legal street.
In the world, bro.
It's maybe black market. We could get the Bay Area might carve out an argument there, but we're talking about legal cannabis. LA is the most competitive market on the planet. What have you done to remain competitive in a market that just has that type of climate?
Bro, genetics, bro. Genetics. Hands down, genetics, genetics and growing methods, right? A lot of people, man, I feel like a lot of people who are in the space right now are in a rat race to just try to be the biggest cannabis company in the world, right? How can I franchise my shit? How can I prepare for the big buyout, from pharma or from, what's the cigarette company? William Morris, or
Oh,
what are they
Philip Morris.
called?
Yeah.
Philip Morris, right? Everybody's trying to ramp up so they can get this big 50 million, $100 million buyout, right? And I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, that crossed my mind, right? That did cross my mind. I set my family up for life. But when you're doing that, you start to commercialize the product, right? You can't keep your eye on 15 grows across the United States, right? You got to start franchising that out. Now, when you're franchising out, now no disrespect to anybody who's franchising. If you're franchising and that's what you're doing and you preparing for your buyout, more power to you. I understand it. I get it. But for me, I wanted to be more of a craft company, right? I wanted to try to mimic the Coca-Cola motto, right? I want Daniel LaRusso to taste the same in Los Angeles, in Oklahoma, in Florida, and Michigan, for that matter, right? Wherever I go, wherever people pick up LaRusso, I want it to be the same. So for me, I'm not rushing. I've had plenty of opportunities to franchise. I've had plenty of opportunities to take money from outside investments to do this, to do that. But I won't do it because I want Ball Family Farms to be a brand that people could count on. And I want people to know this brand is about the culture. They're not selling out. They're not watering down their products or watering down their genetics or having 4 different growers grow their genetics and it's coming out different all over the country. Nah, this brother's taking his time. He's protecting his genetics. He's protecting his IP and he's protecting his product so that we know when we get it, Ball Family Farms is a brand that we could count on. That's really what set me apart, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been almost 4 years and I still haven't moved. I'm just now building out my facility in Oklahoma. And I've been training my growers for the past year who I'm going to deploy to Oklahoma with the same IP, with the same genetics, so that Daniel LaRusso, Laura Charles, Nino Brown taste the same in both states. And then I'm gonna get tricky with it. I may grow a different strain out in Oklahoma that you can't get in Cali, and then grow one in Cali that you can't get in Oklahoma. So now it gives the consumer something to look forward to. Oh, I'm visiting Oklahoma. I've had BFF stuff in LA. Let me go get the one that's only in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? It should be fun, man. You know what I mean? And the medicine should work. The weed should be fire.
Absolutely, man. And there's been great, from the retail clients that we work with to the word on the street. Quality is definitely something I say you guys have been associated with, but in conversations when y'all are not around. But I want to take it back a little bit to the sports days. Obviously, D1, playing professionally in a couple different areas. Like, you played sports at the highest level. How did cannabis help and how did cannabis hinder your athletic journey as a consumer, not necessarily the commerce of it, but as a consumer?
Well, I never smoked, bro.
Okay.
I never smoked. I tried that one time I told you about in high school, right? Got super paranoided out. I tried maybe 1 or 2 more times, since Ball Family Farms has been around. You know what I'm saying? Up my whole journey throughout sports and all of that stuff. It was never really for me. I was more of a drinker. But what it did do, what cannabis was always doing was kind of following me along in my life journey. And I didn't really realize it at the time. I was chasing the football dreams, right? Now what did happen though, is that football and sports helped me in cannabis today, right? Because football and sports taught me discipline, right? Taught me no excuses, taught me by any means necessary, taught me you can achieve what you want to achieve if you put in your 10,000 hours of work and film study and working after practice. So when I come out of pro sports and I have these tools that have taken me all over the world to play ball, I just came and used those tools and applied them into the cannabis field or use them in my black market entrepreneurship, right? Okay, I'm the guy that will get up and I will drive 18 hours from over here to get my product off. I'll change my packaging. I'll get brand new turkey bags instead of old ones. So my presentation is well, you know what I'm saying? So that I make sure I get that sale. So all I did was take those same principles and apply them into the legal framework, right? So I said, okay, if we're gonna be successful, let me just apply these same things and bring them over here. So even down to the people that I hired, I would look for people who were ex-athletes or maybe had a lot to lose or maybe had a crazy work ethic, bro, that will go 10 12 hours without needing a break. You know what I'm saying? Just that killer mentality, because those are the type of people that I gel with, and those are the type of people who are going to get the job done. So when it comes time to pheno hunting, I don't want a grower that's just gonna, oh, we got 200 seeds over here, but we got to pick one of them because I don't want to go through this whole, 12-week process again. No, I want the guy that's gonna be like, if we don't find it out of these 300, I'm gonna pop another 300, and we're not gonna release nothing until we find her. You know what I'm saying? And she got to hit all the big three: look, taste, smell, bag appeal, everything, right? So that's what I did, bro. And so it wasn't really about what cannabis did for me in sports. It was more about what sports did for me in cannabis.
That's a super unique angle, and I didn't really do sports growing up. I was into skateboarding and smoking weed and fucking up, but
Right.
I got a lot of friends that played sports, and I definitely identify with that. I've always had the hustle, and I've meshed well with sports guys for that same aspect of,
Absolutely.
like, if you got a goal or a mission, bro, you accomplish it. You know what I
You
mean?
just
Like,
accomplish it.
what is giving up?
There's
I
no
don't
there's no backup plan, right?
Yeah.
There's no if I don't. It's got to get accomplished. Just like in the game. It's either you're gonna kick my ass or I'm gonna kick yours. I'm gonna kick yours. Now you get your ass kicked, but it also teaches you how to get up.
Yeah.
Because you got 25 seconds to get up before you get your ass kicked again. So it teaches you, stamina, resiliency, right? Same things, man. Same things apply.
And at what point? I mean, obviously you're playing pro, a couple years ago, and the climate of cannabis, especially cannabis in sports, has changed pretty drastically over just these
Absolutely.
last 3 to 4 years. But what would you estimate, at that high level, like how many percentage of athletes did you see kind of using cannabis? Was it pretty prevalent and frequent?
Bro, like 80%. And this is way back when. I mean, cats on the team, man, is dodging, team piss tests all day long. And the great thing about, at the, in the college level, they don't really tell you when you're gonna get tested. That's the NCAA, but at the pro level, you had 2 tests. You had your team test, and then you had the league test. So the team test, you could fail the team test because the coaches is going, yo, man, you dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, fix that. We can't save you when the league come in. You fail the league test, that's when you get suspended, So guys was using it, man, at 80%, bro. 80%. And the other probably 15 that wanted to use it just weren't rule breakers, right?
Yeah.
They were just like, man, I'm going to just chill to the off season. You know what I'm saying? But everybody, most athletes wanted to use it because we didn't want to take Vicodin. Didn't want to take them opioids. You know what I'm saying? All you had to do was smoke a little bit and you'd be fine.
Absolutely. That's something that we now see a lot of former athletes that have platforms, like we were talking a little bit before this, All the Smoke, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, and a litany of pro athletes have came out and spoken about this. And that 80% is a common percentage point that we keep
theme,
hearing.
bro. Yeah.
And I mean, how I paid the bills when I was in college. I mean, maybe 80% of the clientele was on some sort of sports
on
team.
something, bro. I mean, weed ain't never hurt nobody, bro. I ain't never heard nobody overdosing off of no cannabis, man. Period, point blank. If anything, it's just gonna put you to sleep or make you eat up everything in your refrigerator.
Yeah, and even for me, I played, I played ball in the rec center. I didn't do nothing big,
Right,
but
right.
I like smoking when I played sports or when I do other things because for me it just helped like block things out. Whatever I'm doing is what I'm doing. There's no like. Usually I got 1,000 different ideas running through my mind. And like I don't know, caffeine. I know people take Adderall. I don't like any personally. I don't like any sort of uppers, man.
Yeah.
I need to relax.
None of that, bro.
And that's what cannabis does. So it's crazy. It's always great to hear that. And so, like, what do you think are? I mean, they're pretty apparent, but you feel like people that use cannabis in sports are definitely they use cannabis because they enjoy cannabis or because it's a medicinal. You think they seek it for medicinal purposes?
Both. I've had teammates who use it just because they like to be high. Just for that one reason. I had teammates that used it because it helped them focus. I had teammates who used it like they had to use it or they would be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like they couldn't get their thoughts together. You got teammates that use it for pain, back problems. I play football, you know what I'm saying? So you got knee injuries, knee surgeries, back injuries, back problems, shoulder injuries. Don't nobody want to be popping pills all day. You know what I'm saying? Them pills make you groggy. They have all kind of crazy side effects. You get home from a long day of practice or the next day from a game, you don't want to be popping no Vicodin. You know what I'm saying? You want it, man, you could just blow one real quick. That cannabis to subside that pain, you know what I'm saying? Help you through your treatments and you be fine. You know what I'm saying? So it's all around. It's all around. And some guys just, like I said, they just like to be high, you know. And I encourage that because, you know, when you playing sports, man, dudes is on all kind of shit. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, you know, over in Canada, they don't test for nothing.
Mm.
You know, sport performance enhancements, you know, cannabis, you pretty much do what you want over there. You know what I'm saying? As long as you show up to practice and long as you show up to the game. So some of those guys, man, you know, their nerves would be bad, you know, or super anxiety or shit like that. You rather have a dude smoke a joint and sit on the couch than go out and beat up his girlfriend. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Or get some sort of rage out in the street, some road rage or something, and take a bat to some driver's head because he got cut off. You know, so I've seen it all different ways. I've seen all different uses for it.
Where do you see, as we we're just saying, the stigma around former athletes speaking out, NBA, and I can't remember if the NFL, I know the MLB and the NBA stopped, I believe they
They
stopped
stopped
testing.
testing. NFL ain't stopped, but I think they're about to. I
They're
think they're
working. So
about to.
where do you
They're working on
see,
it.
where do you see the future of like cannabis and sports and where they collide?
I think, man, I'm gonna tell you like this. I think the future of cannabis and sports, cannabis will be legal in all sports very soon, I believe. For obvious reasons, right? All the player associations are advocating for it at this point because the players are, right? More importantly, I think when this thing goes federally legal, you're going to see cannabis, you know, start to change Western medicine. I think the stigma of cannabis is on its way out the door. And how you know that is all you got to do is watch TV, right?
Mhm.
Hollywood will definitely start to tell you first. Every show, if you go on Netflix, probably 6 out of 10 shows, you see somebody smoking a joint these days, right? So they're already starting to try to destigmatize it through the most brainwashing thing we have on the face of the earth, which is our television, right? You're starting to see more cannabis companies get bank account. We got one. Right now, I don't have to bank all my money at my facility. I got an actual bank account that'll bank my money. Now
Mm.
they charging me up the ass. You know, my interest and my percentages are up the ass, but I got a bank, right? So now that you start to see all these things start to happen, this lets you know, okay, we getting ready for federal legalization. Last year, I think the feds asked for about 5,000 grams for research and development, right? This year they asked for 18,000, right? What does that tell you? They
Mm.
started to do more research. They're about to open this thing up. So I think once this thing opens up and it's federally legal, right, and now we can take the proper R&D dollars for growers like myself and other great growers across the world to really show the world that cannabis is medicine and it's not some crazy reefer addict drug, and the health benefits that come along with it. I think you'll see everything start to change. I think all sports categories will stop testing for it. There was no reason for Sha'Carri Richards to get banned from the Olympics for smoking a joint. Come on, bro, this is ridiculous. When you got other cannabis companies, CBD companies and all this stuff getting all kind of praise and getting marketing dollars to promote at the Olympics, right? I think all that stuff is on its way out the door, and I think in about 24 to 36 months, you'll see no sports testing for it, and I think it'll start to change Western medicine for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's a great outlook. It's something that needs to happen. And you said destigmatize, and that's really ultimately what it is, whether it's sports, whether it's media. That's the biggest thing about cannabis is this fighting this stigma that existed for, I mean, it's a complicated many variables to why and how and when,
Run
but
it. That whole propaganda back there, man, you know, it used to be illegal for you not to grow hemp way back in the farmer days. Everybody was growing it, right? They figured out what it does. They figured out the power that it had, and then they banned it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't want to see us healthy. That's it. We all know the game. Well, some
yeah.
of us do. Some of us are woke, you
Yeah.
know?
Most certainly, man. It's crazy, and as the stigma breaks, it just provides, so much more opportunity. You said Western medicine's changing, sports will change for the better, and even rec, we alluded to a few in that conversation of sports of what people choose to do. Alcohol. Just having someone on the other day, and they said alcohol. I can't remember how they put it, but they said alcohol is like an accelerator. It'll take any emotion you have and
And
accelerate it
accelerated.
for good or for
Facts.
bad. You're celebrating,
Facts.
you're gonna be
You're
really
gonna
fucking
way
happy, right?
celebrate. Right. You
But
depressed, you're gonna be hella depressed.
right. And that's when you start accelerating those negative emotions, you get negative outcomes usually. And cannabis is one of those things that it doesn't, it's like a leveler, if you will. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not,
level you out.
it's not pushing you any way, bad or good. It's just bringing you self-centered, you know?
Man, and just think about how many people die from cirrhosis of the liver, or
Mm,
from drinking alcohol their whole life. Get cancer, colon cancer, all these different things, bro. You don't even have that with cannabis. They're
right.
providing cannabis to cancer patients, to AIDS patients, to damn near every patient, any kind of patient.
Mm,
Doctors nowadays, hey, you tried cannabis? And you tried to. I took my mom off rheumatoid arthritis with edibles, bro.
mm.
I mean, come on, man. The proof is in the pudding. It's right there. It's right in front of our face.
Absolutely. And so taking it to back to the farm a little bit is, you mentioned pheno hunting and making sure that these strains are right. What do you look for and how do you approach selecting genetics?
Man, there's a couple different things, right? The first thing we're always going to look for is how she looks, right? We're in a purple era right
Hmm.
now, right? Everybody wants exotic. Everybody wants purple weed, right? So that's the first thing that we're looking for right now. The second thing is yield. What are we getting? Well, what are we getting per light? How many pounds are we getting per light, right? Or per square foot? Next thing we're looking for is the timing, right? Now, it's no good to us if we get something that's super purple and super frosty, but it takes 12 weeks to harvest, right? Because that's going to cut down how many harvests we get per year of this specific strain. That's going to cut into the bottom line. So all these things need to match up. Now, this is before we even taste the weed, right? She needs to have color, she needs to yield properly, and she needs to harvest in the proper amount of time so that we get at least 5 to 6 harvests per year from her to hit our bottom line. After that, it's gonna be, it's gonna be taste, it's gonna be high, So it's really about 5 different things, that we're looking for. You know what I'm saying? And every pheno is different. If we do get something that's purple and we got something with a Zaza, maybe got that nice Skittles or that gelato taste. Now we want to get something that maybe got a GMO taste.
Mm.
Now we want to get something that maybe got an OG taste. We want to make sure that we tap into all the different type of terps because we don't want the same type of weed across the board. You know what I mean? Once we get some in the gelato family, okay, let's move on. Maybe we want some in the sour diesel family. Maybe we want a nice sativa, right? Maybe we want a nice Kim Dog. Maybe we want a nice Durban Poison type feel. So it just all depends on what we're after, So all those elements go into pheno hunting.
And what is the once you make it past, that initial spot and get to the smell and the taste, what's the R&D process look like, and how many people do you lean on for feedback on these plants?
So for me, I have a 5-man R&D team, right? And it has to be unanimous.
Mm.
For every strain you see me come out with, it has been unanimous across the board. In the beginning, when we got LaRusso, I would have done maybe like three out of 5, and I knew that I needed a 5-man R&D team just from being in the game for so long. You could give a strain to 2 people and they'd be like, this fire. Then you give it to the next 2 people and they're like, it's just okay for me. But that's just the preference of the person. Doesn't mean that the weed is good or bad. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the preference. But when you get something special, from like an OG, when OG Skywalker was cracking, everybody and their mama who smoked it was like, this is fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew that going in when I picked my R&D team. I got 5 of the most connoisseur smokers that I knew, for the past 10 years. And I was like, okay, try this. And that it wasn't unanimous until LaRusso came. So once I got to that point, at that point, it's about them smoking it. Okay, what's the highlight? How did you get past the whole blunt? Did you have to put it down? What does it taste like? All of those different type of things. What's the inhale? What you tasting on the inhale? What you tasting on the exhale? You know what I'm saying? So once you get all of those in place, then you pick, okay, she made it. She was unanimous. You know what I'm saying? She had look, taste, smell, bag appeal, the timing it takes, for her to harvest, the color, everything across the board.
Yeah, that's a great. I don't know if I've heard someone do it exactly like that, but I love that 5 people unanimous, and that's difficult, man. For a strain to
Bro.
pass 5 individual taste profiles, that's difficult.
It's difficult. That's why LaRusso's so special. That's why Nino's so special. That's why these strains is so special, bro. And the ones that weren't, the ones that just didn't hit, you know what I'm saying? Because over the past 3 years, man, like, I won't lie, when LaRusso came, we kind of blew up. And so we put a little bit of pressure on ourselves I kind of listened to the industry a little bit, and I don't know why I did, but just based off of the success and me just not being a dictator, I was like, okay, people say, man, you need to throw out a couple more strains. You know what I'm saying? You guys on momentum, you got this, you got that. So we threw out a Miyagi Do, and I didn't get all 5 of them didn't sign off on Miyagi Do, but 3 of them did. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Bonsai. Maybe like 2 of them signed off on Bonsai, but it was a sativa.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, everybody don't like sativas, so the 2 that do like sativas, they signed off on it. But as I learned, over the past couple years, my bestseller was LaRusso. My bestseller was the Laura Charles. And those ones had 5 unanimous. Those are special. So what did I do? Okay, cool. I learned, I discontinued. Miyagi-Do has been discontinued. You know what I'm saying? Bonsai has been discontinued. I'm going to rebrand them with new genetics, but they're no longer here. Now, the next 2 that we have, Nino Brown and Dragonfly Jones, all 5 unanimous. So going into 2022, you will only see 4 strains from Ball Family Farms. Daniel LaRusso, Laura Charles, Nino Brown, and Dragonfly Jones. And they're only going to be there for a year. LaRusso stays because he's our pillar, right? He's what made us famous, and people haven't gotten tired of him yet.
Yeah. And that's unique too, having that internal R&D and what you guys know in your gut instinct, but then also, looking at that against sales data, because that's indisputable, right? Are people buying on the shelf? Are they just buying it one time? Like, is it moving one time off the shelf and the dispensary's like, no one's coming back for repeat? If you're able to take that internal gut instinct, times that by the feedback out the streets, you know what I mean? That's a pretty solid.
You can't lose. Yeah, you can't lose. You can't lose. But you got to know, you got to know where to find these people, and you got to know how to identify that. And I think that's the hard part for some of these Chads and Brads who come into the industry trying to get off their weak ass cannabis brands. You don't got that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it earlier, right? Like, if it's not hitting that, you're not putting it out. If you take 300 strains, even as much as you're hyped on the genetics and the potential, if it's not hitting that standard, fuck it.
It doesn't. You don't see the light of day.
Yeah.
You don't see the light. That's brand damaging. You know what I'm saying? You're working backwards now. You feel me? Absolutely. Or your brand just becomes a one-hit wonder or a 2-hit wonder. That was it. Oh, they garbage now. They got too big. They stopped caring. Chris got too much money. He's too famous. Nah, bro. Not over here. I'm not going out like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I liken that to, I did some work in the craft beer industry, and you see that with craft beer producers where they come out, a beer company or brewery will usually lead off with their staple, what they get known for. A simple beer, whether it's the packaging or the flavor, whatever, a combination of it, they get known for that. And you see successful ones add in that IPA or that heft, those other little beer profiles you need to hit. The successful ones can fill out the roster. The unsuccessful ones will just ride out that one.
Ride that shit till the wheels fall off.
Maybe it stays or maybe the whole company
maybe it don't.
They struggle.
Big facts, bro. Big facts. And for us, like I said, man, I have a sports background, so I'm competitive. So for us, it's fun. It's fun when I get a call from Ted from Alien Labs, and he like, man, this damn Shonuff or this damn Nino Brown that you put out is straight fire, bro. Now I gotta go and try to create something to top this. Okay, shit, or when you see Gas House put out something like Pluto, you know what I'm saying, and you like, God damn, this shit is fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need something like that. It starts to get competitive, right? And who wins? When growers like myself, when the Felixes or Kingston's from Gas House, when the Teds from Alien Labs, when all of us get together and start competing, who wins? The consumer.
Right.
Because all we're doing is trying to put out the best fire on the planet, right? That's it. So that's what we want. We love I love that competitive nature with some of the other brands. I love being mentioned in the same sentence as those other brands, because those boys do it right. And don't nobody win but the industry, the culture of the cannabis culture, and the consumer, because all they gonna get is heat.
Right. I mean, the genetics keep getting better. The finished product keeps better. And I mean, you're absolutely right. That type of competition, the consumer wins. And the beautiful thing about cannabis, as opposed to, soda, if you like Coca-Cola, you're probably not drinking, RC. If that's the only thing or whatever is out there, you're sticking to Coca-Cola. But cannabis, much like wine or beer, you might have your staples. You might have your regulars, but you're always never not looking for the next joint.
You're always looking for the next thing, right? I'm always looking for a different Sauvignon Blanc, bro. I'm a Sauvignon Blanc drinker. I'm always looking for a different one on a menu. Give me one I haven't tried,
right.
Now I always go back to my New Zealand's, my staples, you know what I'm saying? but give me some I ain't tried. I want to know. That's the beauty about cannabis, you know, and it's ever evolving. The strains are ever evolving. The phenol hunts are ever evolving. You know, the consumer is ever evolving. And now it's even better, bro, because the your typical cannabis, your new cannabis user is starting to mature, right? Because it's so readily available. So now these weak ass brands who are just growing a bunch of light depths and putting it in pretty packaging and trying to charge it like it's indoor, you about to be out the business in a minute, because as soon as these people start to figure out the difference between Patron and 1942, it's going to be a problem. Right. Only the 1942 guys, the Clase Azul people, are going to be the ones left standing, and I'm one of them.
Absolutely. And that's, I was interviewing someone on here earlier on in our podcast. And he's, you know, he brought up this point. I never heard it like this, but he talked about how cannabis and some of these goods, wine and some of these categories have a culture of connoisseurship where sure, volume is sold off price, but there's always, you know, in wine, right? There's hella $6 bottles of wine, but people are readily dropping $2 to $3 grand on a single bottle every day of the week, you know, and that's always going to exist. As cannabis inevitably gets commoditized. I don't fuck it. I'm not saying right.
Commoditized.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, we know.
I don't know. Yeah, commercialized. You know, conglomerates, right? And we see these big, cheap. You know, we're gonna see $6 Ace, right? We're gonna see a bunch of that bullshit. There's still people out there, myself included, that once we tasted good weed, no matter what we have in our pockets, we can't go back, man.
You can't go back, bro. You can't go back. It's, you know, and I, you know, my team in the beginning, you know, was kind of asking me, because, you know, I grabbed a bunch of blank canvases. You know, I got my family involved. I got people who really didn't come from the space like that, but just people that I could trust, you know. And they would ask me, like, you know, why are we growing like this? This is the hardest way to grow. Why don't we just do it like that? And I said, because that's not the best quality. I said, and at the end of the day, I said, there's going to be a lot of people that run into this industry, and that basic commercial weed over there is going to be on every street corner. But as long as I teach us how to do this, rich people and people who want to taste their weed is always going to come looking for us. And that's where we want to play. We don't want to play in the outdoor game. No disrespect to outdoor growers, because I always know that dirt is king and sun is king, right? There's something that the sun can do that an HPS bulb can't do, right? So I get that and I respect it as a cultivator. But at the end of the day, that weed just ain't going to be the same as my jewelry, that I'm able to play God and control that climate on a daily basis, right? And make that plant give me the best expression possible, right? So with that product, it's like anything else. It's like Louis Vuitton or Chanel. Yeah, there's a lot of people that shop at Walmart. There's a lot of people that shop at Macy's, but they ain't taking no business from Louis Vuitton or Chanel. Right. And that's what we want to be in the cannabis industry. And we want to cater to that market. But for me, what my whole thing is, I want to have that quality of weed, but price it just a little bit lower so everybody can get the experience. And that's how I feel we'll stick around forever in the space.
That's what's up. So what is your guys' price? I know it changes from retail to retail, but what's your guys' price out the door with tax?
I think out the door with tax, I've seen us as low as 55, and I've seen us as high as 80, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you, you know. So for me, I would like it to be somewhere around $50, you know, if it was up to me personally. But you know, like you said, we can't control what the retailers do. We do give retailers a discount, and we want the retailers to extend that discount to the consumers, but it doesn't always happen that way, and our hands are pretty much tied, you know, with that. But I kind of wanted to come out and be the people's champ. You know, we've had multiple DMs of people and our customers saying, you know, why don't you guys charge more? Why am I looking on shelves and seeing this brand when you guys blow them out the water? And I replied, because I want you to be able to afford it, and I want the next person to be able to afford it. There's enough money in this business to go around. I don't need to get rich off of it. I just need to be comfortable and be able to take care of my family and leave some legacy. That's it.
And that's awesome. And for, you know, and we have a lot of listeners, I mean, all over the country at this point, but some of them are in California, very familiar. Some of them in Washington. I was talking to you a little bit before we started. Washington people, Absolutely. If you haven't been to California and you hear $80 for eighth, you might be like, yes, but
what is that?
That's what it costs to smoke some good in California.
In California, man.
For a litany of reasons, but your guys' quality of flower at 50 out the door in the California market, man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Bruh. Come on down to Cali, man, and find you a retailer. Go on our website. Look at all of our retailers. Go on ballfamilyfarms.com. Look at the store locations. Call them up. You know, how much is Ball Family Farms out the door? You know what I'm saying? And then find the one that's around $50, $55.
Yep. Show them love. So how is your family like? What's the temperature on how your family feels about what you're doing now? Obviously carrying the legacy, but you said you picked up game from cousin, from grandma, from pops. Like how are these individuals? If some of them are still around, like how what's their temperature on how proud of you are they?
Man, grandma's not here, unfortunately, but I know she's smiling down. But my cousin Earl, super stoked, man, super ecstatic. He gets a kick out of every time I throw his name in it, in my story, just because the story is making its way, around the world at this point. Um, Relatives, everybody's super hyped, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's super grateful. I'm able to, kind of provide a little bit more resources to the family at this point, and just like anything else, man, there's some family members that's pissed off, because they calling and asking to borrow money, and I'm telling them, hell no, you ain't borrowing no money. You can come work, what I'm saying? I give you a job, but I ain't loaning out no money. You know what I'm saying? Them days is over. So, but with that, I think that goes, with anybody, with family, when you got, something like this happening inside the family, everybody thinks that they done hit the lottery. So you got to kind of calm that down. But, Christmases are good. Holidays are good. My aunt, my mom, my uncle, they don't got to pay for Thanksgiving and, Christmas dinners no more. We taking care of that. There's some money set aside for the family in case of an emergency. Somebody need an operation or something like that. Nieces, nephews, cousins, they all get nice gifts. So it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a dream come true, honestly, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that too. Of coming from your history of the they call it the legacy market, the traditional market, the black market, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the industry
Right.
before it was an industry. Coming from that into now being a bona fide industry that you can openly talk on press about. What is that like internally? What's that feel like?
Man, I can't even that feeling right there is straight surreal. I mean, and you're asking a guy who was federally indicted, and was looking at a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence. I sat in that cell asking myself a million times, how the hell did I go from Berkeley to pro football to federal prison? Right. So to be able to come out of that, man, and now, to have a legit legal license and be able to scream this shit from the mountaintops, man, it's surreal. It's some days I wake up and I pinch myself because I can't believe that this is my life, you know. But with that, as soon as I realize that I'm awake and I'm not dreaming, then that pressure kicks in. You know what I'm saying? That pressure to be an accurate voice and a good example for people of color, for social equity applicants, to not, let money and pressure and all these other kind of things change me, or change how I view things, to not let a broken social equity program change me or derail me or discourage me when it's a moving target and they're changing shit on us on a daily basis, to not let the 40% tax bracket break me down and hinder me. You know what I'm saying? So on one hand, I don't sleep with one eye open no more. You know what I'm saying? I know the police ain't gonna come banging down my door because I got, weed on me or weed at my facility. But at the same time, with great power and great fame and success comes great responsibility too. And that's something that I'm still learning how to do, correctly. And I say that humbly, respectfully.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing a great, again, from the outside looking in. I don't know the internal workings, but it seems like, man, you're definitely living up to that and providing a great example. And like we said at the start of this, the social equity thing is such a crazy topic, and so it's like you say, it's broken, but to see someone that's getting in there and doing it right and thriving is just a beautiful thing to see. And where do you hope to see kind of social equity's place in cannabis as we continue to roll out through this, inevitable federal legalization?
Man, I hope to see social equity fix its issues. I hope each city, especially the city of Los Angeles, I really want them to get it together. There's a couple social equity license holders out here who have, some really good knowledge and some really good ideas. So hopefully we can kind of get together some sort of focus group to figure out how we can help fix this. And I believe if we do fix it, that you'll see hundreds and thousands of other Chris Balls, start to surface, because, hey, listen, I'm not, yeah, I'm special in a way, but there are 1,000 more. There are hundreds of thousands of more guys just like me, either sitting in prison or that just don't have a social equity license to be able to get this off, or have a social equity license but don't have the resources because the program is broken. right? So if we can figure out a way to fix this, to fix the process and the system, I think you'll see more guys like me prevail. I think you'll see more incredible, inspiring stories. You'll hear a lot more incredible background stories of, you know, their journey. And I believe that, you know, the social equity license in the program can be looked at as an asset instead of a liability at this point, you know, and that's my hope for this. That my hope is for other people who have been negatively impacted by the war on drugs to be able to get a chance to rehabilitate themselves like I did and change the trajectory of their families' lives, just like I'm doing today.
That's poetry, man. That's poetry, man. That is poetry.
Yeah, let's go.
So for 2022, you mentioned you got 4 strains that you're holding down that passed the 5-man test. What else you got rocking for this next year?
Man, we got a couple cool collabs that's going to be coming out. You know, I'm definitely going to be doing some with Alien Labs for the culture. Definitely doing another collab with my man Al Harrington, my big brother over there at Viola. We definitely going to do another collab. I got some pheno hunting going on still right now for Monogram, you know, Jay-Z's company. Hopefully, you know, we can find something that's good enough for both of us to put our names on and come out and do that collab. Still got a pheno hunt going on for Nipsey Hussle's family. You know, we got 2 strains, Crenshaw and Slauson, that I'm actively pheno hunting for right now. And the Ball Family Farms docu-soap, man, coming out on Discovery. You know what I'm saying? Everybody needs to get ready for that. That'll probably come out next summer. You know what I'm saying? We shooting that as we speak. I was shooting earlier today.
Man, I'm ready for every single one of those things.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm gonna have to pull up on the grow in LA. I'm gonna try and wiggle, see if we can
bro.
turn that 5-man R&D to a 6-man. You know, let me get my Ginobili spot on the squad.
Come on, man. Let's go. 6-man off the bench. Let's get it. I got room for you. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I really appreciate you hopping on here and chopping it up about just your journey, which is an incredible journey in the brand for people out there that are curious. BallFamilyFarms.com, at BallFamilyFarms on Instagram. I said I plugged those both correctly.
Absolutely. You sure did, my brother. Thank you very much.
100.
And y'all can find me at Chris Ball 45. Let's go. Follow the CEO. Get my followers up.
Let's go. I just gave you, right before we started, I gave you a follow on LinkedIn, so I'll connect with you in the realm of the professional. Bet. And man, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on here. Next time I'm out in LA, I'm gonna get in touch with you. I got to pull up and check out the flavors.
Please hit me up, bro. Please hit me up. Come check out the grow. Come walk it. You know what I'm saying? Let me throw you some samples and shit, man. Let's go, man. Let's build. I'm with it. I appreciate you for having me. Let me come on, tell my story on your platform, bro. I'm humbled by all of this, and I take nothing for granted, G. Thank you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you very much, Chris. I'll let you get on with your evening. For everyone out there, North American Weed Tour Podcast, episode 73, Ball Family Farm.